Chosen one, before you do anything else, I want you to pause for just a moment and notice something. Notice the weight you have been carrying in your chest. You have been calling it exhaustion. You have been calling it burnout. You have been telling yourself that you are simply tired of waiting. But what I am about to tell you will reframe everything. That weight is not the feeling of something ending. It is the pressure of something arriving. It is the internal frequency of promotion pressing into your spirit before the external evidence has had time to catch up. Stay with me through every word of this message, because by the time we reach the end, you will not just understand why the waiting happened. You will understand exactly what was building inside you and why the door to your next season could not have opened even one moment sooner than it is opening now. You did not find this message by wandering. You were guided here. The sequence of events that led your eyes to this place was not accidental, not random, not the product of an idle thumb scrolling through noise. Something in your spirit was hungry for a word that matched the weight of what you've been carrying, and I am telling you now that this is that word. Comment 888 if your spirit is already confirming that this moment was arranged. I want to begin with a picture. Imagine you are sitting alone in the dark. The room is quiet. Through the window, you can see the headlights of passing cars, the world moving at its usual speed. And something inside you watches that movement with a feeling that is difficult to name. Not quite envy, not quite grief, something in between. The feeling of someone who knows they were made for movement, but cannot yet explain why everything around them has felt so still. You have scrolled through your contacts and realized there is no one you can call who would fully understand the specific texture of what you're going through. You feel like someone who speaks a language that only a handful of people in the world have ever learned. And in those quiet moments, you have whispered the question that you've been almost too exhausted to ask again. Lord, why does it feel like I was forgotten? I want to take you to the book of Job, chapter 2, verse 25. God says this, I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. Now I need you to understand what that word restore actually means in the original Hebrew, because the English translation does not carry the full weight of what is being promised. The Hebrew word is shalom, and shalom does not simply mean to return what was taken. Shalom means to be made whole, to be repaid, to be compensated with such completeness that the original loss is not just recovered but overpaid. It carries the image of court of law finding a thief guilty and ordering them not to return 100 they stole, but to repay 500 in its place. That is a legal framework of what God is operating under when he speaks over your waiting season. He is not just giving back what the years consumed. He is compressing what should have taken decades into a period so dense with acceleration that the math of your blessing will not add up to human logic. If you lost 5 years, shalom means you're entering a season where 20 years of favor arrives in 5. You are not stepping into restoration. You are stepping into overpayment. Heaven does not just settle debts. It reverses them entirely. Like this video of the word shalom just landed somewhere real inside you. Now I want to speak to something you have felt but have perhaps been afraid to admit out loud. You have watched people around you advance. People who, if you are being honest, did not appear to work as hard as you, did not pray as consistently as you, did not carry the same level of integrity that you chose to maintain in the hidden places. And you felt something in your chest that you quickly tried to suppress. A bitterness, a sharp, hot question rising up that sounded something like, God, why are you handing out promotions to people who do not even know your name while I have been faithful and am still sitting in the same place? I want you to know that God is not offended by that question. That question did not disqualify you. That question is a cry of someone who genuinely believes in divine justice and is wrestling with the gap between what they believe and what they can currently see. That gap is real, and it is temporary. But more importantly, that gap has a name. Turn to Psalm 105, verse 19, and look at what it says about Joseph. Until the time that his word came to pass, the word of the Lord tested him. The word for tested in the original Hebrew is saraf, and saraf does not mean to be examined. It does not mean to be evaluated. Saraf means to be refined by fire, the same word used for the purification of precious metal. Joseph was not sitting in a dungeon waiting for a door to open. Joseph was sitting in a furnace where everything that could not survive a throne was being burned away from him. His identity as a victim was being incinerated. His dependency on human recognition was being reduced to ash. His need for external validation was being consumed so that what remained could carry the weight of what was coming without being corrupted by it. The dungeon was not a delay in Joseph's story. It was the most essential chapter of it, because a man who had not passed through Saraf would have become a tyrant on the throne. The fire produced a king, and the fire in your life has been doing the same thing. Comment 1111 if you can look back at your hardest season and begin to recognize the refining that was happening inside it. Now I want to give you a framework. I want to call it a resonance check, because I think it will help you locate exactly where the internal friction is coming from. Here is the principle. You cannot receive a high-level assignment while operating from a low-level internal posture. Think about it this way. A radio receiver that is tuned to the wrong frequency does not pick up the signal, no matter how powerful broadcast is. The problem is never the broadcast. The problem is the calibration of the receiver. When you sit with your future in your mind, I want you to pay attention to what your body does. Does your stomach contract? Does your breathing become shallow? Does something in your chest tighten around the edges of what you were hoping for? That physical response is information. It is telling you where old frequency, old fear, old believing in scarcity is still living in your system. And that old frequency, if not addressed, creates static between you and what is being prepared for you. Not because God withholds from the unworthy, but because a spirit still tuned to survival cannot fully receive what is being broadcast in the frequency of abundance. The way to begin shifting that calibration is not complicated, but it requires intentionality. Every morning before your mind is fully engaged with the demands of the day, before the notifications and the obligations and the mental noise of what needs to happen, spend 7 minutes in deliberate stillness, not passive stillness, active inner listening. Breathe slowly, and as you do, bring your awareness to places in your body where tension lives. Breathe directly into those places with the conscious intention of releasing what is contracted there. This is not mysticism. This is stewardship of the inner life. The most spiritually effective people in Scripture were people who guarded and tended their inner world with the same seriousness that they brought to their external obedience. David did this in the Psalms. He would begin in anguish and breathe his way through to alignment by the final verse. That practice, that daily recalibration of the inner world, is how you prepare the receiver to pick up what heaven is already broadcasting toward you. Now I need to say something that I think will make some of you uncomfortable. And I need to say it because it is true, and because nobody else is going to say it. You have been praying for this breakthrough. You've been asking for the doors to open and the seasons to shift and the promised things to finally arrive. And they are coming. I believe that with everything in me. But here is what is also true. Part of you is terrified of what comes after yes. In the quiet hours, a voice whispers things you do not say out loud. What if I receive a promotion and I am not capable of carrying it? What if the visibility that comes with elevation exposes something in me that I am not ready for the world to see? What if this is the moment people realize the gap between who they believe I am and who I actually am? What if I crash in public the way I have watched others crash? I want you to hear me clearly. That fear is not a sign that you are unready. That fear is a sign that you understand the weight of what is being placed in your hands. The people who receive elevation without that fear are the ones who are most likely to be undone by it, because they have no awareness of what they are carrying. Your fear of mishandling the gift is the very evidence that you are a careful enough steward to be trusted with it. The weight you feel is not an obstacle between you and the crown. The weight you feel is the crown. Comment 2222 if you have felt that specific fear, and you are ready to let it become evidence of your readiness rather than evidence of your unworthiness. Now I want to give you a protective framework for this next season, because what is coming requires intentional guarding. I want to call it the three-circle principle, and it is rooted in wisdom that runs through every season of Scripture where God was preparing someone for significant advancement. Picture three circles surrounding you, each one at a different distance from your center. The innermost circle is yours and God's alone. This is where your most sacred dreams live, the ones that feel too large to say out loud, the prophetic words spoken over your life that you've been carrying quietly for years, the visions that come in small hours in the morning that feel too significant to casually mention. The rule of the innermost circle is sacred silence. You do not speak these things into casual conversation, not because secrecy is a strategy for manipulation, but because premature disclosure of a seed removes it from the soil before the roots have taken hold. Speak what is forming only in prayer. Let it grow in a protected space between you and the one who planted it. The second circle is your inner covenant community. No more than 3 people. Not 3 friends. 3 people who have demonstrated through consistent action that they can carry weight without dropping it. People who pray for you without using your vulnerabilities as conversation. People who celebrate your advancement without competing with it. You share what is forming with these people for the purpose of prayer, covering, and accountability. Their agreement becomes a spiritual canopy over what is growing. The third circle is everyone else. And the principle for the third circle is simple. You share results after they manifest, not before. You invite people into the testimony after the victory, not into the vision before the battle. This is not arrogance. This is wisdom. Proverbs 11, verse 2. With the humble is wisdom. Guarding what is sacred until it is established is a form of humility. It says, I trust God's process enough to protect it. Look at Philippians 4, verse 7. The peace of God which surpasses all understanding will guard your hearts and minds. I want you to see what the original Greek is doing in that verse, because it is extraordinary. The phrase surpasses all understanding in Greek is eupareko, which does not mean peace that vaguely exceeds what your logic can process. Eupareko means peace that towers over your understanding as a dominant and active force. It is not passive contentment. It is a peace so structurally powerful that it stands above every anxious question you could generate and remains unmoved by them. And the word guard, furio, is a military term. It refers to a soldier stationed at the gate of a fortress with a specific assignment to prevent unauthorized entry. That peace is not a feeling you generate through effort. It is a divine garrison station at the entrance of your mind, turning away every thought that has no right to govern you. You do not need to understand how God is going to resolve what you are facing. You need the peace that towers above the question and guards the gates of your mind while the resolution is being formed on the other side. Like this video, if that word just gave you language for something you have been experiencing but could not name, I want to tell you about someone I know. 9 months ago, they were facing what looked like the complete collapse of everything they had spent years building. A partnership they had invested years of faithfulness in that fell apart without clean explanation. The loss was professional. it was financial, and it was deeply personal because they believed that this was the door God had opened. They were devastated. But instead of reacting publicly, instead of defending themselves in the spaces where their reputation was being quietly questioned, they made a decision. They went silent. They stepped back from every platform and every environment that was generating noise and went into a deliberate season of inward focus. They practiced inner recalibration every morning. They shared what was happening with two people who had earned that access. They protected the seed of what they believed was still coming by refusing to expose it to environments that could not sustain it. On the 38th day of that season, they received a call from an organization they had never approached, an organization that had encountered their past work and felt a pull toward them that the leader of that organization described, without knowing the spiritual language, as inexplicable. The offer they received was more than double what had been lost. What they had carried in silence became something that could no longer be ignored in public. They proved themselves faithful in the hidden season, and it made them unforgettable in the open one, now chosen one. Before we seal this, I want to bring you into an activation, not a ritual, not a technique, a conscious alignment of your will with what heaven is already speaking over your life. In your spirit, I want you to stand, regardless of where your body is physically located right now. Let your inner person rise. Picture yourself standing in a room where every surface reflects not your past, not your failures, not your seasons being overlooked, but the version of you that has already walked through the door, that is currently being prepared, the you that came out the other side of Saroff, the you that Shalom was always intended to produce. Look at that person. That is not imagination. That is prophecy about to intersect with your present. That is the you that God has been building toward in every season that felt like it was going nowhere. And I want you to receive this not as information deposited into your mind, but as impartation settled into your spirit. Father, in the name of Yeshua, I bring before you every chosen one who has stayed with this word until this moment. You know the weight they have been carrying. You counted the nights when hope felt thinner than it ever had before. You watched them stay faithful in the hidden places when faithfulness felt like it was producing nothing. You saw the tears they did not let anyone else see. You heard the prayers that broke off halfway through because their voice gave out before the words did. And I thank you that not one moment of that endurance was invisible to you. Not one tear fell outside the radius of your awareness. Not one night of quiet faithfulness went unrecorded in the books of heaven. I declare over every spirit hearing this word right now that Shalom is being released into your timeline. The overpayment you were promised is not delayed. It is being precisely positioned. I seal the three-circle principle into your daily walk as wisdom and protection for what is forming. I break every assignment sent to introduce premature disclosure, to generate anxiety about timing, to plan comparison as a distraction from the specific path you are on. I bind those assignments by name, and I declare they will not find access to the spirit of anyone standing in agreement with this word right now. I declare that within the coming days you'll begin to notice the first movements. They will be subtle. They will not announce themselves with spectacle, but your spirit will recognize them because your spirit has been calibrated by this season to sense what your eyes have not yet seen. Relationships will shift. Doors will open that you did not engineer. Conversations will begin that you did not initiate. And the favor that has been accumulating in the hidden season will begin to express itself in the visible one. I decree that the inheritance locked in your lineage is being accessed. What previous generations could not reach, you are walking into. What was promised and not yet possessed is being released into your hands because your hands have been proven trustworthy in the fire. You are moving from hidden to recognized, from overlooked to sought after, from forgotten to unforgettable. And the authority you were born carrying but have not yet fully walked in is being activated in you right now. God is asking you a question in this moment. Will you carry what I am placing in your hands with the same faithfulness you carried the weight? Will you let the promotion deepen your humility rather than thin it out? Will you remember in the abundance what you learned in scarcity so that the blessing does not undo what the refinement produced? If your answer is yes, speak it in your spirit right now with everything you have, not as a performance, as a covenant. Heaven heard that. It is recorded. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. Go now, chosen one. You are not leaving a message. You are leaving the holding pattern. The waiting room door is behind you. What is in front of you is a chapter that the previous ones were always preparing you to live. Walk into it. Own it. And on the days when the enemy tries to remind you of who you were, you remind him of who God has declared you to be. In the mighty and matchless name of Yeshua, do not rush away from this moment yet. Sit in it for 60 more seconds. Let the weight of what was just spoken settle into your bones. Feel the shift. It is already happening.